Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of Quiet Corners, your go-to podcast where we dive into all things social isolation. Whether you're tuning in during your morning commute, chilling at home, or out and about, we're here to bring you heartwarming conversations, interviews, and stories that will inspire and inform. I am Kazi.
I am Kat, and this is our special guest, Danilo. And this is the Quiet Corners episode number 2. Today, we're diving deep into the experience of social isolation in the digital age. Let's talk about the rise of the technology and how it can also contribute to feelings of loneliness and disconnection. So, Danilo, please introduce yourself first.
I'm Danilo Minlay from ABM 11.
Do you have any hobbies?
I like playing football, badminton, to swim.
You're a sporty person.
Yeah,
In those sports, have you experienced any social isolation?
of course.
Can you tell me personal experiences where you kind of feel left out or parang I really wanna parang socialize pero I can't.
Coming from a background that like playing games before sports, iba yun, can I speak Tagalog?
Yeah, it's okay.
Iba yung ugali ng mga tao from the nerds to the athletic guys, from what I've noticed very well. So, I get very isolated just for being a nice person. Kasi in at least my school, many of the athletes there, egotistic. In the bad way.
Oh really? I can really I noticed that as well. Those people na parang athletes and very active in sports in general. They have the biggest parang egos, parang sila yung parang main character. And Kazi, what's your take on it?
I didn't notice that because I see everyone the same. But I do notice if there's differences in their just with who they are. But I didn't really think of na they're different because they're athletes or normal academic person.
So, in our world nowadays, we're always online, diba? So, how do you think being online changed how we connect with people in real life?
It makes connecting in real life a bit less important, a bit less newer, because back then you can meet a person but you'd have to give them a letter to ask if you want to meet, or you have to schedule before for the next one.
That's true. Nowadays, communication is very accessible compared to before. It's harder, and parang we take it for granted nowadays. And as it's very easy to talk to people, so easy to text.
With those people online, how does seeing them online, their lives, affect how you feel about others? What do you think of them?
What do you mean?
Seeing their online lives.
Compared to their...
How does seeing perfect online lives affect how we feel about ourselves? You see the lives of other people, comparing it to your life.
Some are very unrealistic.
Oh.
But even though it's unrealistic, people can achieve it. But why instead of them working on it, they just compare or overthink? Why do you think that is?
That's what we have for social media. You have your opinions, pero sometimes or at most times, your opinion won't affect the person directly. They can take it, pero they might not take it in a good way or a bad way.
Why do you think people look up to social media influencers, those fitness influencers where they have a physique that's super attractive, but why do they just instead of working on themselves and working on themselves in general, instead they just look at them, get jealous, maybe overthink a little bit? Why do you think that is? Because nothing's really stopping them to start doing what the influencer's doing.
Maybe it's because they have backgrounds that may affect their decisions.
Like what? What do you think?
They may be in a position that they're not able to do that compared to the fitness influencer, because some or a lot of fitness influencers show on social media at least that this is the lifestyle is the perfect lifestyle, but it's at the same time it's unobtainable for most people.
So, you think that parang like they just showcase the best parts of their life in social media and people perceive it as something that happens daily?
Yes.
Do you think you do the same thing?
I don't post that much.
Oh.
Pero have you like maybe like seen an influencer like do something that you really like and do you maybe overthink na I wanna be like them. Why can't I have that? Like, you know.
A few times. I felt that way because probably, let's say in sports, work ethic is, let's say, a very important pillar in whatever you do actually in your life.
That is true actually. Like, okay, so from coming a background of sports, right? You have seen a lot of people that play better than you, right? Have you ever like gotten jealous at them or like you can start to become better, but instead you just like see maybe compare yourself, maybe see what's wrong with me that I cannot be like them, or maybe start like undermining your own achievements because of it.
I never gotten jealous, but every time that situation occurs, in my mind, I always think, what can I do to obtain what they have or what they're currently trying to achieve?
I have another question. For you, what are some simple ways to build real friendships online? If you have you gotten?
I've had.
Give some simple ways, and then how do we find a healthy balance between the offline and online life?
To find a healthy balance is, let's say you can have these set of people only in this set of area for these situations, and for these other set of people for these
Like in school.
like in school, in sports, online.
Oh.
Like, this is the place where, let's say if you put a beginner in a advanced class in anything, eventually they'll also become advanced.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess so.
So you can, it's a bad thing if you put it on paper, pero you can group other people for these certain things if you want to achieve this goal or habit.
I've seen that happen before where like you put a beginner in like you put a beginner in like their field and do like a class where people are advanced in that topic. Pero like instead of like achieving that outcome where the beginner eventually like learns more and becomes advanced like them as well, it's just like they just get stuck in that parang beginner phase and they either parang stay that way or they do improve but it's very slow. Yes. Do you think it's like the mindset they have, or is it like something maybe that's affecting them mentally or emotionally?
Every situation does not have the same effect on every person.
That is
Some people have a better effect on this situation or in this style of how they try and improve, while the others can do it this way, which is the total opposite way, and still get the same result.
Okay, so from your background of coming from sports, diba? Like, have you ever been in like a situation where you're put with an advanced player and maybe parang the advanced player's attitude maybe has like parang
They're more
kind of
like,
bullying you, kind of parang
their
okay.
ego is.
yeah, maybe a little egotistical. Kasi like you play badminton, right? I also play badminton.
Actually, what's your main sport though? Do you have like just one?
Football and badminton.
Oh, it's both.
Yeah. What mode do you play in badminton? Singles?
Singles.
Have you ever played with opponents where parang they're not really fun to play with or parang they take it too seriously? Kasi I also have those moments where parang nakakainis sila kasi parang they take everything too seriously. They're not really fun to play around. And like everything you do kind of just pisses them off. They're in general not really a good vibe to be around with.
Actually, I've never experienced that in badminton at least.
Why though? But like in your perspective, like how would you react when you're in that position?
If I was in that position, I would actually I would say, but if nothing happens, then nothing happens. Because what they're doing is not my problem if other people see it in a bad way.
What do you mean?
If other people see this while, let's say, we're competing, they might take it as a bad way or a good way. Depends on the situation.
But how do you think people like can take it in a bad way? Like,
Baka-
kasi like some people are like very optimistic. Their mindset is
Mm.
super positive. Where parang if you put two people together with terrible mindsets, it can lead to a big argument and misunderstandings, right?
Because sometimes people can block out, or sometimes your personality when you are in a competitive mindset might turn into your personal. I've seen that happen a few times.
That is true. Like some people absorb the competitiveness of sports and turn into their personality.
So,
What do you
you
think?
mentioned that you played 3 sports, right? Are you varsity in with any of the sports here in DLSU, or do you play outside of school?
I play outside.
Oh. Okay, so I asked you a while ago, you said that you have built real friendships online. Can you like share like just one story of how you became friends with a person online?
In situations, I mostly, if I play games, it's more or less competitive games like Valorant. Or, so the people I meet there are the people that are also in the same mindset if they're in that environment.
And you share the same interests.
Yes.
So the people you become friends with, they're mostly people that you share the same interests with.
Yes.
Have you ever had experiences where these friends say parang suddenly be a bad influence to you, or like over time you kind of realize that maybe this is the friend that's not really good to have around in the long run?
Yeah, there are a few times, but mainly it doesn't affect me because they have their values, I have my values. People have different perspective on things.
Does your perspective ever like change when presented with another perspective? Like when you don't really agree on it, but you can see what they're talking about.
Yeah, I have one. There is a few.
To connect to the question that Kat asked, why do you think people look up to social media influencers even though they have a terrible influence to other people?
Because they see it as it's a clear goal for them. People sometimes get lost in maybe a time of their lives. Then they see a goal that is clear that they can possibly attain if they put the work in.
But instead of them putting the work in, they just maybe start comparing. Like they just stay in that permanent bubble where they don't really like improve, and they mainly like compare. They mainly like kind of pity themselves because they cannot like achieve what they have. Why do you think people are in that mindset?
To be honest, I don't know.
Maybe you can say what you think. Like
For me, there's a saying, if you compare, or comparing is the killer for progression, because you're wasting time on comparing rather than trying to fix the problem that you're trying, or the problem that already has in front of you. Yeah.
that is true. I've heard of that saying before, but I don't like. Yeah, I've had those moments before as well, where like I compare myself to other people that are better than me, and like eventually I have the realization that it's not really worth the energy to compare myself to other people when I can actually just start working on it myself. But it's like for some people, they don't eventually get that realization. They're permanently stuck in that mindset. Like, why do you think that is, though?
Again, it could be past trauma or habits that were given to us, maybe not in the way that not in the way that we think we receive it. For example, we pick up habits from our parents without knowing. We pick up habits from our ancestors without knowing. Mga ganun.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about social isolation in the digital age, do you think social media make people feel more or less connected to others?
It depends on the situation, but if you do it correctly, it can make you more connected with other people.
But specifically in the pandemic, where like social isolation was very, very common, why was it hard for people to connect in that age, even though it's so easy to communicate with people?
Because some people are more and some people are less experienced in the social media world. Because maybe in their work life or work environment, they have to be less on social media or more on their phone. There's stuff that needs, or there's factors that are needed to be accounted for. Let's say you're working a very physical job. You more or less do not check your phone more than an office worker.
I guess so.
For you, how often do you feel distracted from your real life interactions by your phone or like other devices?
I'd say 30% of the time.
30%.
When I wake up or when I sleep or when I just sleep.
How often are you on your phone? Like on a daily basis? Like, yeah.
I think at most, if it's for social media purposes, it would be at most 4 hours.
Since like
4 or 2.
technology is like growing, do you think people rely more on online communication or face to face?
I think they rely more on social media more because it's more easier to talk to a person. But at the same time, it also it removes some factors that you can have in real life.
That
Some
is
people
true.
prefer real life more.
Like I have noticed that it's a lot easier to talk to people in online, but when it comes to real life, it's suddenly a lot harder because it's a lot easier to talk to like a profile picture, right? Than say to actually someone where you have to talk and
That's
you have to
true.
socialize with other
I feel.
people.
I would rather,
It's
I
really,
would
really
rather
hard.
like talk to people in chat. Because
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, it could be different. Even though I'm like, I could be super close to you, I would rather talk to you in like
Yeah, like I can actually relate because I had this one friend where like on school I would not talk to him at all, but on text I would be so chatty.
Yeah.
And like I don't know why I'm like that, but I feel like it's just it's just how easy it is to talk to people online compared to face where like you don't really have to face the person in general and you can say what's on your head. It's okay.
I actually used to have. Actually, no, I'm still friends with this person, but it's just an online friend that I met. But then we're not as close now, cause before during the pandemic, I was like, or like a few years ago, I was like super. All I did was just use my phone. Like basically, my life was on the phone since we weren't allowed to go out or anything. But then now, I mean, I'm still friends with them, but then we don't talk as much now since, everything's slowly coming back to like normal.
Yeah.
But I think it was really nice to experience having like those friends online all
That
the
is
time.
true.
And she was like even from another country, so
Wow.
it was like cool like sharing our life with each other.
But like I feel like some people get left behind. Like eventually people adapt, they become more social.
Yeah.
But like people also get left behind, where people are just like permanently stuck on their screens, even though they have their parang social lives. They're forced to, but they don't really want to adapt to it. Like I don't really understand that.
I mean, we can use our environment as now. Because let's say we all came from different schools before we got into Lasal. We have friends that probably we didn't know that had bad habits until we got here into the school. Maybe because of environmental reasons. Some people are stuck, some people are not. Some people progress more than others. There's stuff like that that can affect.
Have you ever had a friend that was like parang you were friends with for a long time, but then eventually you guys stopped talking?
Yes.
Can you like tell them? Can you tell us about them or them?
Before I got here, because I live very far away, in Marikina.
That's a long time.
Before then, we used to hang out every day. He's my best friend. I mean, we're still close naman, pero due to environmental changes, we don't talk as much compared to back then because I have priorities here that I need to do. He has stuff there that he needs to do.
I actually have one friend actually. We were like friends in LM. She's like my very best friend because we were friends kinder until grade 6. But then it's because of 2020.
Yeah,
So like
the
we
pandemic.
grew apart, and actually the difference for mine is that we actually have no contact anymore. Like we don't talk to each other anymore. But then she was like in that time period of like kinder to grade 6, she was like my super best friend, like number one. But then like now, we don't like talk anymore. Like we don't even it actually like 2020 to 2023, we were like greeting each other like Happy New Year or something. But now it's like completely like
Silent.
yeah, like zero contact.
Not even birthdays.
Yeah, not even the birthdays anymore.
I also had that experience. Like, pero I actually made a friend. Like, I was surprised when I made a friend sa pandemic. Kasi I was so, like, socially isolated.
Yeah.
And then, I kept talking to this person for, like, a few years. I was super consistent. And then, like, until grade 10, suddenly, like, I would barely talk to her. And, like, we just grew apart. And then it became even worse after I transferred to LaSalle. Kasi we were in different schools. We would, like, occasionally we would talk like at the start, but eventually we just grew more and more apart. Kasi like we have our own personal lives, and we just find more people to talk to in general.
For me, when it's like the opposite, I found like so much friends online like during the pandemic and stuff. For you, do you think that you mentioned that you do have friends that you met online?
Yes.
Do you have like online friends, like they're not like you haven't met them ever in your life in
Yes.
person? You have. Do you think those online friendships are more meaningful than real life ones?
Personally, no.
No.
Why?
Because your interaction with the people outside or outside social media or online, by instinct or by norm, it's more meaningful compared to an online state or an online environment.
Oh.
But like, okay, for me personally, like, it's a lot easier to have like heart-to-heart talks in
In person.
yeah, no, actually for me online is a lot
Really?
easier. Kasi ano like I don't exactly have to face him or her, pero like I can like sense that maybe he's listening, or maybe
Oh.
parang we can talk without being awkward. Kasi yung silence parang normal na sa online so parang
Yeah.
you don't really see it as awkward or parang weird. It's just a normal thing
Like
nowadays.
those heart to heart talks, is it like in call or in chat?
Nah, not really. But like, yung heart-to-heart conversations,
What do you mean like online?
like online say, diba, parang, you wanna be parang, oy, pare, I need to talk to you. Like, real talk. Like, you say this one word, real talk, usap nga tayo, and then, it just becomes very meaningful all of a sudden. And then like, I feel like it's a lot easier to continue the conversation kasi parang you don't have to face him, and then that you know that he's listening. Pero it also depends on how the person responds, I guess. Kasi like, luckily for me, someone actually listens.
Oh.
Yeah.
For me, I kinda agree that those online friendships aren't really as meaningful. Kasi right, I mentioned that I had like an online friend, but then the thing is, you don't actually know them in real life.
Oh yeah.
They're just like behind the screen and stuff like that.
It's very surface level,
Yeah.
like the friendship. Kasi for me, I had like online friends that were almost diving into personal, pero not really, kasi they were just scared, I guess. Pero like,
Oh,
yeah, I guess it's a lot easier to be like get to know people and connect with them on a personal level and face to face rather than online.
so thank you, Min, for being here today to talk with us about social isolation in the digital age.
And thank you all for listening. We hope you found today's conversation insightful and helpful. And thank you for joining us, Min. And be sure to join us in the next episode where we will be exploring the impact of social isolation on mental health.
Until then, take care of yourself, and remember, even in your quietest corners, you are not alone. See you in the next episode.